You are Locked On Giants POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Giants Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And today, the San Francisco Giants held on to win 7-6 over the San Diego Padres in the rubber match of their 3-game series at Petco Park. With the win, the Giants actually win this road series, something they haven't done very often this season. And 4 different Giants hit home runs today, and 3 of them came in 1 inning. After jumping out to a 7-1 lead, however, the Padres came roaring back to within 1 run before Ryan Walker had to come in and bail everyone out with a 5-out save. And Marco Luciano was at it again. He was at the epicenter of an error that busted open that huge rally for the Padres that allowed them to come back in this one. The Giants desperately need their young prospects, especially those in the infield, to show us something on defense, because we are currently being left with a lot to be desired. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Giants podcast feed and making us your first listen following these Giants games. And make sure to check out the Locked On Giants Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. For your second listen, make sure you're tuning into Ben Caspick's Daily Show. And today's show is sponsored by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet just $5 and get a 3 free week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And in this one, one of the first things I noticed was, one, how quickly Spencer Bivens was working on the mound and how efficient he was early on. And then that's something I didn't start with there in the lead, but Bivens really pitched very, very well throughout this one. He lasted 4 1/3, I believe, 4 2/3 for Spencer Bivens. He gave up 4 hits, 1 run. Came on a Jackson Merrill solo shot. That kid is going to have a chance at winning National League Rookie of the Year, his 23rd of the season. And Merrill's been excellent all year, playing great defense. He saw in the 9th inning there, he made a leaping catch in the at the warning track at the wall to snare that one that Ramos smashed to center. And he was what seemed like the only bright spot of this Padres offense. Let's get into it. Early on, it obviously ended much different than that. But early on, the Giants in that 4th inning put up a massive crooked number. They score 6 runs in the 4th inning. When's the last time the Giants scored 6 runs in 1 inning, man? It led off, though, with the Grant McCray strikeout. And after his huge game last night, and I came on here and took a victory lap because my guy, who I have been just like pining over for these last few days, McCray's rewarded with the leadoff spot today after his 2 home run performance last night. He goes 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. The golden sombrero for Grant McCray in the leadoff spot. That is not what you want to see. So, 2 steps forward, 1 step back for the rookies. That's kind of how life goes when you're this young. And you heard Melvin say in the postgame yesterday, he didn't even expect McCray to make it up to the bigs this season. So, you win some, you lose some with the rookies. It's all learning experiences. But after that McCray strikeout in the top of the 4th, a high fly ball to Tatis in right field. And this is what kicked off this whole Giants scoring in it. This big rally, this scoring rally that happened, the 6-run rally in the top of the 4th, started with a high fly ball to Tatis in right field. It was a can of corn, but he was battling that sun big time, lost it at the last second, and bailed out. You saw a few fly balls to right field and down the first base line that both teams were having issues with. Encarnacion struggling at first base to snare one for the Giants. Tatis was struggling earlier in this one to field one, hit out to right, but he made the play. But this time he doesn't. And at the last second, when he bailed out of it and just tried to not let the ball hit him in the face, his glove actually fell off his hand. And it was kind of a weird look watching Tatis chase after that ball gloveless and picks it up and throws it back in. But Ramos ends up at second with a double. It didn't really matter where Ramos ended up on the base paths, though, because Matt Chapman comes up next and smashes a 2-run home run, 119 feet, 108.2 miles an hour off the bat. The 23rd of the season for Chapman. It was a first pitch, 4-seam fastball at 93 miles an hour right down Main Street, and he made Joe Musgrove pay. giving the Giants a 2-0 lead. Then Michael Conforto singles, Tyler Fitzgerald singles, and up comes Encarnacion, who I was just talking about, battling the sun on that first baseline. He gets a 3-run bomb of his own, a cutter right down the middle from Musgrove, and he jumped all over. It seemed like Musgrove was having a hard time locating that ball exactly where he wanted it to go. He was getting pitches over the plate, just, getting a little bit too much of that plate with a lot of these pitches. This was one of them, 416 feet, 110.6 miles an hour to left field off the bat of Encarnacion. Gives the Giants a 5-0 lead. And then up comes Luis Matos, and he gets in on the home run train. His solo home run gives the Giants a 6-0 lead. The thing that stood out the most to me about this inning, the Giants had 3 home runs, and 2 of them weren't even solo shots. I mean, how often are the Giants hitting home runs, and every single time it's like nobody on base and things like that? This time, the Giants get ducks on the pond, and they hit them in, and it gives the Giants a 6-0 lead, and it felt like they had complete control of the game at this point. Imagine that. Things paying off when you hit runners in scoring position in. Crazy how that works. Then in the bottom of the 4th inning, we were talking about McRae's terrible day at the plate, so I got to acknowledge he made a pretty good play on defense, because even when the bat doesn't show up, he still brings a glove to the yard, makes a nice over-the-shoulder catch going straight back towards the wall in center field for the second out of the inning with a runner on first in the bottom of the 4th. And that really, I thought it was a key play, because it could have started a rally for the Padres. And the Giants, oftentimes when they have rallies this season, seems like the next frame, the other team is coming back and getting a few back at least. If they don't come all the way back, they're still trimming that lead down almost immediately and snatching some of that momentum back. This kept the momentum on the Giants' side, and I thought that was a big deal. Then in the top of the 5th, the Giants could have added on. They started off the inning with a single, a walk, and a walk. There was an out somewhere in the mix of that, so they ended up with a bases loaded with 1 out, and Encarnacion at the plate, who just paid you off with that big home run earlier. In this situation, though, he strikes out, which is exactly what the Giants have done countless times this season in these situations. And then up comes Luis Matos to ground out to end the inning. You get the bases loaded with 1 out, and you don't score a run. If the Giants had lost this game, you're damn right I would have been talking about this inning ad nauseum, because the Giants, no more excuses for bases loaded situations, sub 2 outs, and you don't score a run. Learn how to lay down a bunt. Learn how to hit a ground ball. Learn how to hit a sac fly. It is not the hardest thing to do in this game. There are plenty of things about baseball that are really, 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 really hard. And I'm not saying that this is easy, but this for damn sure is not the hardest thing that you have to do in a baseball game. Figure it out. Figure it out. It should not be this difficult. I'll calm down now, though, because the Giants did win this game in the bottom of the 5th with that 6-0 lead. Jackson Merrill comes up, launches that solo home run we were talking about earlier, and Bivens is done after he gets 1 more out in that inning from forever Giant Donovan Solano. In comes Eric Miller, who gives up a single to Luis Ariz. The Padres are starting to get a little something going here. They got 1 run in on the inning, and they got first and second with 1 out, but Miller gets Tatis to ground into a double play to end the inning. And that was another huge play, because this could have easily gotten away from the Giants. It was, that top of the Padres order is so dangerous. And following Tatis, you obviously, you got the big boys right after that. You got Profar, Machado, Cronenworth, Bogarts, who were all hitting pretty well today. Machado actually wasn't hitting very well today. He's the only one of those guys who didn't have a hit, but obviously Manny Machado has been having a crazy season this year, especially lately in the second half. He's been on fire, so that you really don't want to be facing him right now in an opportunity to get the Padres going. So good job by Eric Miller getting out of that inning, and good job by Spencer Bivens today. He was getting a lot of ground balls. He was pitching to contact, being very efficient on the mound. Spencer Bivens, we'll get into his day a little bit later on. But then in the top of the 6th, this is how you know that it was a home run day, because Kirk Asali hits his first home run of the season. Chris Babcock, the 49ers statistician, let me know on Twitter that this was the first home run by a Giants catcher since the month of July. And that's just so bad, man. I mean, Pat Bailey, we all know his struggles in the second half of seasons. That is now becoming a thing. I mean, as a rookie, he struggled in the second half for sure, but now in his second year, same struggle. So the Giants need to figure out how to address that. But Casali, that ball came off his bat at 99 miles an hour. That's usually not a home run. Traveled 403 feet. That's how you know that ball was flying out there in San Diego today, out in that warm weather. Home runs all over the place today. There were 5 of them for between the two teams, 4 for the Giants, 1 for the Padres. That Casale home run put the Giants ahead 7-1. But then comes the 7th inning, and this was hard to watch if you were a Giants fan, and for multiple reasons. Yes, I know the Giants won, and the wheels didn't entirely fell off. I mean, maybe like 3 of the 4 wheels fell off in this inning, though, and it showed me some troubling signs for things going forward. It started off with Taylor Rogers coming in. I'm gonna mix up the Twins' names in this. I always do, man. I'm gonna try so hard to keep it through, but when one comes in for the other, I just mix them up. I mix up the names. It's not great to have identical twins on the same team with names as close as they are together for a dyslexic guy. Let me tell you, it makes my life real hard. Anyways, Taylor Rogers, the lefty, not the right-handed submarine, but Taylor Rogers comes in the bottom of the 7th, only gets 1 out before being pulled from this game, starts it off with a 4-pitch walk. And then he walks Solano after a 10-pitch at bat. So he was laboring out there. And then a single loads the bases before he's finally pulled for his brother, Tyler Rogers. Taylor just couldn't find the strike zone today. But Tyler's been pretty good all season long. So he comes in to try and get the Giants out of this jam. But a ball gets by Casale and a run scores from third base. Was ruled a wild pitch, but I don't know about that, man. It hit Casale in the glove. It wasn't in the dirt, and it wasn't like wildly to the side of the plate. I mean, yes, it was definitely not where he had held the glove up. I mean, if he did hit the glove, he would have just piped that ball right down the middle of the strike zone. So Casale, I don't know how that ends up being ruled a wild pitch. Maybe they changed the ruling later on, but I thought that was a pass ball on Casale through and through. It hit the webbing of his glove, and he just let it get by him. I don't know how that's not a pass ball. Regardless, run scores, and that's a problem because this inning continues. And then a pop-up to second base, man, and this, for me, this was like the key big moment of this game because that pop-up to second base, man, it happens with, I believe there was 1 out at the time. No, there were 2 outs at the time. So this pop-up to second base would have ended the game. But instead, Fitz and Luciano both go for it. And let me be clear, this ball was very likely Marco Luciano's ball. Marco didn't have to move too much for it to get camped right underneath it. But if you're a second baseman and your shortstop is calling you off, you yield to your shortstop. That is your captain of your infield. You listen to that guy. Just like if you're a left fielder and the center fielder runs all the way over to left to go catch the ball that you thought was yours, and that center fielder's calling for it, you let him go. You let him take that ball. That center fielder is the captain of your outfielder or of your outfield, just like your shortstop is the captain of your infield, and you listen to what that guy says. It doesn't matter if you disagree. It doesn't matter if you think it's your ball. It doesn't matter if it is your ball. If you're going to go back into the dugout and your manager is going to say, yeah, that was yours, but then he's also going to say, but you got to get out of his way. And Marco Luciano camps under it. You see Fitz, drifting on over, screaming, calling. You could see his mouth moving, and it doesn't look like he was being particularly quiet, letting Luciano know this ball is mine. Nobody backs off. The ball bounces off of the gloves and it falls in between them. And then here, it could have stopped there. The issue, if they had just picked the ball up and thrown it back in, whatever. Bad play, but move on to the next one, get the next out. The thing to me that it made me literally jump out of my chair and like start yelling at the TV. These two dudes with the live ball sitting in between them put the hands on the hips and glare at each other. I'm sorry, dude. That's a live ball. You got 2 runners on base circling. The batter in the box gets to second. There's 2 outs. They were moving on contact. They probably would have scored. Anyways, that runner on second wasn't trying to get over to third. So it likely didn't create any extra. Like, I'm not saying that one of these runs could have, maybe been held at third if they had popped up and immediately made that play. But my God, it's a live ball. Save your beefing for later. Like, go beef in the locker room after the game. Do not do it on the field, ever. I know these are 2 rookies, but my God, this was like just visually such a terrible look for the Giants from 2 players who are supposed to be cornerstones of this franchise going forward. And let me tell you, I'm not saying that Tyler Fitzgerald is exempt from wrong here because he did the same thing Luciano did. But I'm seeing a lot of bad body language from Marco Luciano so far. And I mean, as soon as that ball dropped, you could tell he was just like, Another one, like he was so frustrated just with himself, and it looked like he was frustrated with Fitzgerald. And I could see the gears turning in his head. I mean, I'm obviously just playing mind reader here, but it wouldn't shock me if Luciano's sitting there thinking, I need to be making these plays so that I can play for this major league squad next year. I need to prove that I have a glove and that I can use it in plays like that where other guys are kind of screwing you up. You don't need that if you're Marco Luciano. And I understand. I mean, that puts him in a really tough spot. And I've been super hard on this kid all year long for his, abysmal defense, just terrible dumpster fire level defense. But even if it's your ball, you back off in that situation. And Tyler Fitzgerald in the future needs to let his second baseman take that ball. You need to let your guy go make a play. Like Fitz needs to let that happen. I know it's Marco Luciano over there, and he has been awful all season long, but you can't go and make every single play for both second base and shortstop. You need to stay within yourself if you're Tyler Fitzgerald and within your position. Marco Luciano needs to be allowed to try and at least field his. But this, them sitting there staring each other down with a live ball sitting between the two of them and runners circling the bases. My God, what a bad look for this Giants team. The Padres are like in the middle of a rally that allows 2 runs to score. There was already 1 run in the inning. It's now a save situation. It's 7-4, and Manny Machado's coming up with a runner in scoring position. And the Giants, they at that point, they got out of the inning, but man, oh man, was that stressful. And wow. Then in the top of the 8th, you're thinking maybe the Giants need to get an insurance run here. Nope, they strike out twice. Matos and Luciano strike out. Encarnacion flies out. And then, just for good measure, in the bottom of the 8th, we get a really close game because Camilo Doval comes in, and for as good as Camilo was last night, the Jekyll and Hyde continues, man. He turned back into bad Camilo Doval today, gives up a single to Cronenworth to start off the inning, and then Xander Bogaerts smashes a home run, his 9th of the season on a fly ball to left field. And I got to credit Bogaerts because this wasn't a terrible pitch by Doval, but he hung that slider inside. Like you never want to hang a high and inside slider to a righty. That is a recipe for disaster. And for Doval, it became a disaster real quick. Bogaerts with that 2-run bomb brings the Padres within just 1. Then he gets Jackson Merrill to ground out. And then he walks David Peralta. So, Doval's got ducks on the pond. You got the game-tying run on first base, and Doval just didn't look like he had it. Lots of control issues for Doval on the mound today. I don't know what it is with this guy, man. It's one day he's lights out, locked in, and then literally the very next day he looks like this. It's insane. I don't know what is wrong with Camilo Doval. I can only just hope that the Giants pitching staff gets him back to at least like something that resembles what this guy was last season, because he couldn't even finish this inning. He's pulled for Ryan Walker there with 2 outs in the inning, and thankfully Ryan Walker comes in and immediately gets Donovan Solano to ground. There was actually only 1 out in the inning when Ryan Walker came in. First, he picks off Tyler Wade at first base. Get rid of that inherited runner. Great job by Ryan Walker. And then he gets Donovan Solano to ground out. No stress. And I was kind of thinking, man, this game was going to get away from the Giants. Like, Ryan Walker looked really good, but I even tweeted out, man, the Giants are going to find a way to lose this one, aren't they? Because it just seemed like all of the momentum was on the Padres side. And Ryan Walker was the only thing standing between the Padres and a win today. And standing between the Giants and a loss also. So Ryan Walker comes in for, as I said, 5-out save, comes up in the bottom of the 9th, and he's got the top of the order. Of course he does, because why would anything be easy for Ryan Walker in this lifetime? Luis Arraez to ground out, and that guy has been a base hit machine. That is a accomplishment in its own right. Dude had 3 hits today, then gets Tatis to ground out, and then gets Profar to fly out. 1-2-3 inning for Ryan Walker, and he shuts it down. Master class from Ryan Walker. He also went into showed up on the post game for the Giants broadcast right after this one went final, and talked about his mindset coming into that situation. We'll get into that and a little bit more. We got to take a quick break here on the Locked On Giants postcast. But with that save, the Giants win 7-6 and improve to 71-73 on the season. It's not good, folks. That's not where you want to be on September 8th. That's just not. It's definitively outside of the playoffs. Even with the expanded playoffs, you're still not making it. So Giants win 7-6, and they win a road series, which they haven't done a lot this year. We can get into some of that a little bit later as well. Stick with us here on the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by FanDuel, and you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet just $5 and get a free 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And man, oh man, I'm telling you right now, I got my TV that you can't see that's off screen right here with Red Zone and all the games going right now during the whole Giants game. I mean, what are you going to do? Just not watch football? Football is king in this lifetime in the sports world. You all know this. You got to get your NFL Sunday Ticket. No better way to watch NFL football. And then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to get every single regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And if that's not enough, FanDuel also has something special for our listeners this weekend. Be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's double your winnings for all Sunday pregame bets and money line or pregame money line bets. So you can still get that in before Sunday Night Football today. Make sure you jump on that. Profit Boost will be live, started a couple days ago, but view your account page now to learn more about your boost. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and today, man, it was a rough one out there. I'm taking a look at the chat, and Charles talking about this 7-6 Giants win and the Camilo Doval sketchy 8th inning. Charles says Doval gives me 2016 Casilla vibes, and man, that is not what you want to be compared to. I kind of compared him earlier this year to Armando Benitez, who, if you've been a lifelong Giants fan, you'll remember that guy as the once dominant closer for the Marlins that came over and just was awful with the Giants. It just looks similar to me, man. Like just the control issues and the just falling apart mentally. It's not a physical thing. I don't think it is. I think it's a mental thing with this guy. But tough look either way. Thankfully, the Giants had Ryan Walker to bail them out of what would have been, I mean, could you imagine if they didn't have Ryan Walker on this team? This season would have been over months ago. And I'm not exaggerating because the Giants have been pretty bad at the ends of games anyways. Like these one-run games have not gone the Giants' way a lot this year. But if you don't have Ryan Walker, you lose a lot more of these one-run games than the Giants lost already this year. I mean, how many did they lose already? One-run games. They are, with the win today, they're 22-22, so back up to an even 500 in one-run games. Without Ryan Walker, I think the Giants probably lose a solid, like at least 5 of those 22 that they won, and you're looking at losing maybe 30 one-run games. Man. So the Giants really benefited from having Ryan Walker just waiting in the wings to take over for Camilo Doval. But Ryan Walker, man, he's really the big hero today. I know the Giants had 4 home runs, but to me, the story is Ryan Walker with the 5-out save, just completely shutting the door on that Padres comeback, which was sparked by that not great look from Fitzgerald and Luciano out there in the infield. And those two guys need to figure out their differences because as I was just looking at the chat, as Randy was saying, Fitz and Luciano got to figure out a way to work together because these are 2 young cornerstone prospects that, I mean, they're foreseeably going to be on the same team for the next several years. And I'm just saying these 2 guys aren't good enough to like reignite a Barry Bonds, Jeff Kent-esque feud internally. Like nobody, like if you got Barry Bonds and Jeff Kent on the same team and they don't get along, maybe you figure out a way to keep those 2 dudes on the same team and just keep them apart from each other in the locker room. Fitzgerald and Luciano are not Bonds and Kent. So I need them to figure out their differences and work through this and not be beefing. You know what I mean? We need some good vibes. At a minimum, we need this team to have good vibes. If this team is losing and bad and has bad vibes and is boring, oh my God, then what are we even doing here? What's the point? So, but Ryan Walker, man, phenomenal today. Phenomenal. His, and I'm taking a look at his Baseball Savant page, and my God, man, as I've said before, I'm not a good numbers guy, but like on Baseball Savant's player profile page, red, good, blue, bad. Blue means you're really not good at doing the thing. Red means you're really good at doing the thing. And if you haven't gone to Baseball Savant's page, go do it. Check it out. It has so much detail about every single thing you could possibly ask about a player. And for Ryan Walker, I mean, the only two categories that he doesn't have like a maxed out red bar in is chase percentage, which is 28.5%, which is about 50% to 51st percentile of Major League Baseball pitchers, in his extension, which means he doesn't get a lot of extension between the mound and the plate, which, I mean, doesn't seem like it matters too much to that guy. Sean Jelly's got a really, really high extension number, for instance, but Ryan Walker, not so much. He's in the bottom 20th percentile. Doesn't matter. I mean, if we're going to pick a category for him to be, have a blue bar in versus a red bar on this Baseball Savant page, I'm picking extension because that doesn't really seem to matter too much to me. Anyways, I'm getting lost here with these numbers, but Ryan Walker, his strikeout percentage, 33.8%. That's top 3% in all of Major League Baseball. He's his expected ERA, 2.62%, top 2% in all of Major League Baseball. So, I mean, this guy is unreal, like unhittable when he's on the mound. And even if you make contact, it's not going hard or far. Like he's in the top 7% of exit velocity, of minimum exit velocity for pitchers in Major League Baseball. Like this guy has been so dominant this year. And it's something that gets a little lost. I said at the All-Star break, I thought this guy should have been an All-Star this year. I really did want to see Ryan Walker representing the San Francisco Giants. I was really kind of surprised that Webby got the nod. Definitely deserving of it. But after missing out on All-Star games in the past where he's had far better numbers than he had at the break this year, and with as many National League pitchers as there were that were just on fire in the first half of the season, I thought Logan Webb was going to be the odd guy out and Ryan Walker was going to be the pitcher representing the Giants for the All-Star game. I think he would have deserved it. I mean, definitely in the second half, if you had an All-Star game that took into account second half stats, he would be in that All-Star game, no question. And Walker, by the way, we should mention with the save today, that's his 7th of the season. So good job, Ryan Walker. But man, this one was tough to get out of for the Giants, and the way that they just let the Padres back into this one, super frustrating. I said we'd go through what Ryan Walker said post-game about his mentality getting into a game like this, where it was once a big blowout and then started to slip away, and all of a sudden, your sirens get going off in the bullpen, and you got to get all hands on deck, ready to go lock in. And let's talk a little bit about that. I also want to go through a little bit of Spencer Bivens' day. Not too much time on that. We don't have too much time left in the show, but I want to go through these two things before we wrap this one up. This is the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and today the Giants squeak out a 7-6 win over the Padres. Shouldn't have been this close. Really shouldn't have been this hard. You got 4 home runs and they only got 1. The Giants did everything they could to let the Padres back into this one, but Ryan Walker, the one man standing between the Giants and a loss today, he was on the post-game interview briefly before we hopped on the Locked On Giants postcast. He was talking with the Giants postgame, the NBC Sports postgame on the field afterwards. And before we get into this, I just got to say, like I hear Kruk and Kipe always complaining about this, but the leaf blowers, man, what are you leaf blowing on the field after the game so that you can't have on-field interviews? Are there any leaves out there? Where are the trees that are dropping the leaves onto Petco Park? I don't understand. What the hell is the point of the leaf blower? I don't get it. But for whatever reason, Ryan Walker persevered through the leaf blower to get through this interview. So you could just hear like the drone of it in the background of him talking. But they were asking him what about this situation and coming in to a game when you're up a lot and then all of a sudden it's a close game and you need to get into the mentality of like, let's go lock in. And this is a big deal because Duvall is a guy who like can't flip that switch. Like we've seen that firsthand. Duvall is incapable of making the transition from like, oh, this game is a blowout and I don't have the juices flowing to like, oh no, it's a one-run game. Let's get hyped. Let's get this done. Ryan Walker, he just said he doesn't really think too much about it. He says it's shocking, but he said, quote, it's shocking sometimes, but a cool situation. And when he said this, my eyes almost popped out of my head. A cool situation? You were up 7-1. You think 7-6 now is a cool situation. But he explained it's a cool situation to be in knowing it's my time to pick up the team. I hop into that mindset and say, let's get to work here and get that win. And that's what you need. That's what you need from a guy in that role. And that seems to be why this guy is so good at this role. I mean, he never seems like the emotions of a Ryan Walker like seem to be pretty even keel. I mean, he doesn't ever, you'll see some emotion, like you'll see him expressing some like, a fist pump or two here and there, but you're not ever seeing him like toss the glove or like, clearly saying some words we can't say on this postcast, like to himself after a bad pitch. You don't really see that from a Ryan Walker. You see a guy who, I mean, it seems like he's just got that next pitch mentality. He just doesn't think too much about it. He said it himself. I don't think too much about it. And that's what you kind of need. A short memory, a goldfish brain. If you're a relief pitcher, forget about the last one if it was bad and move on to the next one. And that's what Ryan Walker does really well. And that's essentially what he was saying he did today in this postgame. So Ryan Walker, I mean, we've talked about him a lot. Just credit him for saving the Giants win today, because without Ryan Walker, this is a Giants loss guaranteed. And Spencer Bivens, he pitched really well, man. I really liked what I saw from him today. Bivens was 63 pitches, 42 strikes. It was billed as a bullpen game to start this one. And Spencer Bivens went 4 1/3, which to me, I mean, Hayden Birdsong and Kyle Harrison have been, quote, starters for a few games where they're not getting out of the third or the fourth inning. Today, you get at least into the fifth with Spencer Bivens. And so we got to give him some credit. This kid came out of nowhere. I keep calling him a kid. He's my age, 30, 31. This guy was a rookie this year and is never in his 30s and has never played higher than AAA, made his MLB debut this season. And Bivens has really answered the call so well for the Giants time and time again this season. Got 4 groundouts today, 3 flyouts. As I said, 63 total pitches, over 4 1/3. Very, very, very efficient. Something that we don't see a lot from these Giants starting pitchers lately. And Spencer Bivens for the season has a sub-3 ERA, 2.77. This guy's been great for the Giants. He doesn't get the win today because he didn't last 5 innings. That goes to Eric Miller, who did pitch very well today, an inning and 2/3 for Eric Miller. Gave up 1 hit and 1 walk as well, but got that key inning-ending double play. So, I mean, really good job by the Giants' first couple arms out of the pen today. Or first arm out of the pen, I should say, if you're counting Bivens as, quote, out of the pen for this bullpen game that really didn't feel like a bullpen game, then maybe that was 2. But Taylor Rogers, not great. Tyler Rogers picked him up. Duvall, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and ping-pong and back and forth from good Camilo to bad Camilo. And Ryan Walker saves the day with the 7th save of the season, a 5-out save for Ryan Walker to bail out Camilo Duvall and the San Francisco Giants. This is the only thing standing between the Giants and a loss today. Would have been their 74th loss of the season. Instead, the Giants win. They're now 2 games under 500, creeping back up there. We'll see if they can get there by the end of the season. So with this one, the Giants win, and that's pretty good because road series, it's just their 9th road series win of the year. They've lost 12 and they've split 2. So the Giants have beat up on the Padres a little bit this year too. They have a winning record against the Padres, who are a really good team this season and will be playing in October. So maybe that's something that you can build on. Maybe that's something that can inspire confidence. But the two biggest takeaways from this game for me: Ryan Walker single-handedly saved the Giants today at the end of this one. And I need these rookies, specifically Fitzgerald and Luciano, to start playing some damn defense and figure out how to work together. Don't be beefing on the field with a live ball literally sitting between the two of you with your hands on your hips, glaring at the other guy. I'm mad. Like, come on, man. This is your job. Do your job. Play defense. Get outs. If you got a problem with the guy that you're playing alongside, go hash that out after the game, away from the field. Not on the field of play while there's a live ball sitting between the two of you. It blows my mind that we even need to mention that. With that, that's all the time that we got for you guys today on the Locked On Giants postcast. Giants win 7-6 out at Petco Park. And man, Petco Park still looks like a vibe, man. I just want Oracle Park to be that fun again. One day. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.